What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Off the Couch Boxing. I'm your host, Reckless Rex Ruger. That, of course, watching my back is the Alexis Arguello puppet. We're back with another banger of an episode. You know the motto: legends, luminaries, world champions, and fighters on the come up. All coming here to chop it up with your boy, Reckless Rex, the home of the most amazing and real boxing conversations anywhere on planet Earth. And we're about to have one right now with my boy, return guest, one of my favorites, coming in here right now to chop it up. And let's get down to it. He's here. I'm here. There's Freddie. What's up, Freddie?
Hey, I feel like an old man trying to set this stuff up, man.
I know. Hey, listen, man, tell me about it, dude. I feel like an old man trying to set it up, and I do a podcast. That's even more sad, man. I mean, is that really true, though, man? Because you are a young guy, are you really not good with technology?
Me personally, no. You know, my parents always, when younger age, they kept me away from video games. I didn't have my first phone until I was like 15. So it's just
God, that's like child abuse nowadays.
Yeah. So I mean, late now, it's just like I'm starting to get into the gaming and stuff like that because of my cousins. So we be playing the game a lot. But, it's actually fun because it takes time away for distracts my mind sometimes when you have a tough day at training camp.
Sure, absolutely.
It takes my frustration at ease. You know what I mean?
Now, you're one of my favorite guests, one of my favorite fighters, man. I'm always happy to have you on here and chop it up with you, man. Before we get into your career and talking about your fighting career, when I'm putting together my topics, my bullet points, my shit to talk to you about, man. One interesting thing that I came across, and I find this fascinating, and of course, correct me if any of this is wrong. Your father swam here?
Yeah, so he swam
here from Havana, Cuba to Miami with 4 friends, and 2 of them died?
Yeah, so that's the crazy part. So one of them they were jumping, and one of the soldiers saw him. Because my dad's job, right, was in Cuba. He lived in the more countryside of Guantanamo. And what him and his brothers used to do, they used to sneak people out of Cuba, so they knew the trail where to take them off and stuff like that, so they could take a boat or either take a one-way to go straight down to Miami and swim. So at the age of 16, he kept telling my grandma and his stepdad at the time I'm gonna leave Cuba and stuff like that. But they thought he was joking. Obviously, he was 16, and he took off with him. He was the youngest one. He was a baby out of the group. He was, like I said, he was 16. The rest of them were 20-something. Remember, he told me that they were jumping off of this one cliff because they saw him. And one of the guys died right there in basically the shore of the reef where they were jumping, and then one died halfway along the way, I guess for dehydration and stuff. So, I mean, I thought I had it rough, but for my dad to have it rough to do boxing there and to come here and stuff to give us a better opportunity in life and things like that. So, and then in my mom's case, my grandma I've never met. She passed away when she was 7, and she had to just sneak inside with my grandpa in a truck to get into the USA from Mexico. And then they both met in Vegas, and then
what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
And then here comes me. I pop out, and I'm big old head Freddie over there, born at.
That's a pretty crazy story, though, man. Because you hear a lot of those. It's always the old. You hear your story say, "Oh, I walked to school uphill both ways, 10 feet of snow. How rough I had it, man." But I mean, that's rough, man. And first of all, man, your father must be a hell of a swimmer.
Oh yeah. So it's always funny. So as a kid, to this day, I don't know how he does it. He be dropping down into water and popping up in 1 second, like 100 feet away. I don't know how he does that. I mean, I'm still trying to do it to this day, but swimming is a gift. But again, he said, like I said, he lived in the countryside of Cuba, and all he did was in the forest, all they catching fishes and fishing and everything like that. So
yeah, he
says in his blood. He says hopefully I can get him that land so he can go back to his special roots and stuff like that. Because I know that's one dream that he has as well as mine, kind of getting a big land and living there, having family and growing the animals and stuff like that.
Another crazy story, man, is at one point, man, like you surreptitiously and secretively joined the football team, and Pops came and yanked you right off the field.
Yeah, so we were living in Fallon, Nevada at the time. It's like 45 minutes away from Reno. Notice my dad at that time wasn't working. It was just my mom working at the hospital. And I make the team. And, I'm happy but my dad specifically, he never let us do any of this work. At that time, I was little. I was probably like 5'2", a freshman in high school, probably weighing like 95 pounds, 106 pounds.
Is that what his concern was? You were small and we're going to get hurt?
Yeah, for boxing, and boxing was my priority, so he didn't want me to get injured or get a concussion or break something, how small I was compared to other guys in school. But I was so excited. I was getting into the game. Coach told me to get in. And like I said, it's a small town. Everybody knew us because at this time we had a band that said Los Magnificos Team Rojas. That means the magnificent Team Rojas. And then we were little, so I had our face in the front of the van and everything. So everybody knew who we were.
Yeah.
And my dad had a habit of going to the school and like giving me, my brother, and my sisters like flowers and chocolates. Yeah. So everybody knew my dad and stuff like that. So when they found out, the coach told my dad, "Oh yeah, Freddie's gonna play a game tonight," and stuff like that. But like I said, I've been lying to him, like, "Oh, it's for tutoring, it's stuff like that. I'm going to after school." But one day he caught me and he pulled me off of midfield. He was yanking me by the ear, took me off, took me home. And I got the biggest lecture at the house. And for that, I got like another workout for the last like 3 hours.
And so obviously that was it with football, right? You were done.
Yeah, that was it. That was it. But he said, the only other sport you could do is track. But I have a reputation. I never liked running. Running is my worst enemy.
Right. It's like track is like, it's like making you more road work.
Yeah. But look, let me tell you, my brother was in track, right? He was in track, and my brother's conditioning was insane. That dude, when he was doing sparring, he probably did like 50 runs of sparring, didn't get tired. So in that case, yeah. But I've never, like I said, running. Tops goes out to my brother because for that, I don't know. For running, I'm more of a good long. I'll say more a cross country runner, but a slow one. You know what I mean? I could go distance, but when it comes to sprinting and stuff like that, my brother would dust me. Especially in that school, I was known to be the fastest kid. At that moment at school for JROTC and PE and stuff like that. But once my brother came into school, and think about it. Think about it. Girls at that school, you know how they knew me as by? Oh, you're Manny's brother. And think about it. That's my little brother.
Tough.
And they're knowing me as, you're his brother. So at that moment, I was just like, oh my goodness. But no. So track was the only sport he was allowing us to do for conditioning and stuff like that. It could go good with boxing. But obviously, for me, I was like, I would rather do baseball or football. But obviously, he had strictly boxing.
And now for people that don't understand the sport, and even me, covering it and being such a passionate fan for so long, sometimes, man, I'm a little confused on the ranking systems. Are you confused on the ranking systems? Because you were 15-0, 11 knockouts, and yet when I will peruse the rankings, man, to see where fighters that I like are, I will often see names not on there, but yet I go to one specific site and it shows the top 15 in all the alphabet organizations. And sometimes I will see people on there with not as good a record as the person that I'm going to look for. Sometimes multiple losses. I mean, explain it to me, or does it baffle you?
For me, it baffles me. I tell the same thing even for the kids at the gym I have here. I do not know how that ranking works. It confuses me. It confuses the heck out of me. Because there's people not even in that weight class anymore. They're still ranked like top 4, top 5. And I'm just like, what the heck is going on? Apparently that the record, from what I heard in that sense, the record still stays on because they still have points and stuff like that, whatever. But with that, I have no idea. I was talking to somebody in Vegas at Knucklehead because that's now where I be training in Vegas.
Right.
I forgot who I was talking to, but we were having a discussion about it, like how the rankings would go. Because I think one of them was like I said, when I fought for the WBO Latino, it was my first fight ever at 54, and I got ranked already. I think at that time it put me like a top 10 or top 8.
But so for fans that don't know right now, though, man, like where are you though? Are you still at welter?
No, I'm super welter, so 154.
Super welter.
So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're currently at super welter. So when I was checking the ranking site, I thought you were still at welter. So do you know if you're ranked at 154 in any of the alphabet organizations?
WBO right now at the moment I'm ranked at 15. I was at I was at 8, then it went to 6, and then it went 15 because I've been inactive for a year.
Right.
And then now with the WBA Federal Latino that Tayez had before, who had that? I believe it's Tayez who had that belt before he fought for the intern. Now I have that belt. So they should be coming up with a ranking with that. And what my managers told me, that should put me up to top 6. So as of right now, they say I'm ranked in the WBA and then the WBO. And
so where does that put you as far as like a timeline? And I don't know if this is something that's come up with you and your team. When would you say conservatively is a good time where you'll be in a world title picture?
I want by the end of this year, I think we've been ready.
Yeah.
I mean, been training hard and
because I'm 52 years old. I remember a time like when you had to have a pretty good resume, 20, 25 fights before people even talked about you getting title shots. Now we're seeing guys, 10, 12, 13 fights into their career. We just saw Keyshawn Davis get the WBO, lightweight title in his 13th or 14th fight. So it is possible to have it happen now much earlier in your career with a lot less fights than it used to be.
So I will want it to be at least to the end of this year. Realistically, I probably don't see it going until the middle of next year, 2026.
Okay,
hopefully. I think that's when I'll get the real big opportunity. So, but I know coming up now, we'll be getting some good names up in there to start get some good recognition and ranking up in the rankings and stuff.
And now, why the move from 147 to 154? Like, was it a deliberate move? Or are you having trouble making the weight? I mean, like, you are a tall guy, man. You are 6'2". Like, I think about you like the Paul the Punisher Williams or the Tommy Hearns. I mean, like a tall, wiry guy that fights at welterweight.
Yeah, it wasn't more of the sense of hard to lose weight because I can make I won't say pretty easy. I'm 47, but I can still make it. Yeah. It's just it's just hard for me to get fights, and the reason for inactivity for the same way for that year from the 47 transferring to the 54. Even in the 54, I still have a huge trouble trying to get opponents. So it's just like one will say yes, and then they'll go off and they say no, and then I'll be in a whole training camp for 3 months, and then they don't want to take the fight no more. We try to find somebody else, and then the whole process just keeps going over and over and over again. And for me, such a young fighter, I mean, I'm 26 now. Obviously, time is not going to wait for me. My age is still going to keep going up. So it's just like, and this sport is such a short window as a pro. So it's just like, I'm not an amateur. I'm not 18 years old anymore. It's just like, I don't got too much time. So it's just like, I want to not hurry up the process and make stupid mistakes, but I would love to give it a little nudge, a little bump so I can try to make myself more of these recognitions like these guys and stuff like that, so I can put my name out there and hopefully get these bigger fights. Because I always say in boxing, money's one thing. I obviously, I want to get paid for the things I do, but the realistic thing, what I want to do is build my name and have a legacy, just like a keeper, right? I want my name to live on forever. I don't want to die and then be like, okay, oh, he was just some fighter like back in the day. Muhammad Ali. Everybody knows his name. Right. That's going to stay in the history books forever.
Right. So absolutely.
So if I can even just get a schmidt of that, of like what Muhammad Ali has to have his name, or like that guy, he was a great boxer and stuff like that. I would love and be and I'll die very happy. If I can do that, because I always say, if I could make my last name live on forever, that'd be the best thing I can do.
And now for people that don't know, or who haven't watched you fight, as I said, you're 15-0, 11 knockouts. A lot of people would look at that and say, wow, that's a lot of knockouts, man. But for people who don't know your boxing style, what would you say? Boxer, puncher? Do you want to be looked at as a technical boxer, a knockout artist? That's obviously a lot of pressure, but you do got a lot of the fights have ended by knockouts.
Yeah. I always say, I've never seen myself as a knockout artist or what people portray me as. I've always said I'm more of a technical fighter. Now, if the opportunity is there, hey, I'll take it.
Yeah.
But I always say I'm more of a technical fighter. Obviously, I think more of my body shots are more lethal than anything. Because those are more like half of my stoppages were off of body shots. But I like to tell people that I'm more of a more technical fighter and stuff like that. But when the opportunity is there, obviously we'll want to sit down and try to get them out of there if things plan A don't work,
Obviously, I know it can work against you, and you can't really go in there with the strategy of knocking somebody out. But when you're a young fighter, does it weigh in the back of your mind that unfortunately we do still see, and I've been critical about this on here too, we do still see a fair share of bad decisions, bad judging. It can obviously change the trajectory of your career. You're going up, suddenly you're on the wrong end of a crappy decision. You take that L, and suddenly opportunities that could be coming your way all of a sudden are not, just based on what a couple of guys who sat ringside, have kind of almost like, changed your fortune. Is it anything that weighs in the back of your mind, or do you just got to kind of just say, I can't think about it?
I mean, you got to play a little bit of both, right? In my case, because sometimes the case is like, okay, man, if I do a bad performance, knowing how boxing fans are and how brutal they could be, sometimes it can change the momentum of your going, right? You could be going great, have a bad performance or lose a fight or something, and then it's just like, okay, now I gotta either one, it can work very good in my favor, and then somebody can call me to fight them and stuff like that, or it can go the opposite direction, like you said,
Right.
and it's gonna be way harder for me. It can downwards my career and put me at a halt, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, obviously those two things, they wander my head before any training camp and fight like that. But obviously I try to think about the thing. We got one plan to go. I can't think about what other people are thinking about, because then it's gonna be messing up me and my career, right? I'm the one going in there to fight and try to do the best ability that I can and put on a show for the fans, and of course protecting myself at the same time, because I don't I don't want to be freaking in bad shape, obviously, by the end of my career.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the end of your career. Now, you mentioned you're 26, man, and obviously still got plenty of fighting left to do, man. But you also talked about wanting to build a legacy, be remembered after your career is over. You know, have you given conscientious thought to, like, how long you'd like to stay in the sport? Like, there's guys that get into it and say, I don't want to be fighting past 35. Or they might say, I don't want to fight more than 30 fights or 40 fights. You know, is there a definitive number of fights or an age that you've thought of?
I think the first year or 2 years of my boxing career, I was saying 38, and then I was like, oh, I'm gonna retire. But then I was like,
yeah,
there's no point, because every fighter says that, and then they come back a year later.
They do.
You know,
they do that.
So the point is, I think I'll just take it as long as my body could give it to me.
Play it by ear. Yeah.
But I see myself going a very long time in the sport. You know, I tell people, my dad's bred me to do this since I was a kid. Like, I was that rooster that he's trained when he was a chick, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just like, this is all I know what to do. You know, I went to school, I did everything I had to do, but I don't want to focus on that, because this is my plan A, and this is the only one plan that I want to have. You know, I love what I do.
So are you saying Papa Rojas was having you chasing chickens like in the Rocky movie, or roosters?
He has. Chasing the chickens and killing the chickens for dinner. So
wow, no kidding, man. That's old school, man. Like, we did see that in the Rocky movie, man.
Yeah.
And he said that was the best way to
train for
to build speed. Yeah.
So my dad, he's one of them old heads from Cuba. He believes very on the old methods and stuff like that, which I think is great, because, you know, sometimes I think as new fighters or the new generation, sometimes we forget about the old ways and stuff that do work.
Oh, yeah.
We're so fixated on the technology and the things, obviously, that it helps in some sense, but I think it's also good to go back to the roots and things that going up to the mountain, running up a mountain instead of the treadmill, cutting wood and stuff like that, you know.
Oh, we're taking it back to Rocky IV now. We're gonna get a Rocky versus Drago montage here. Chopping wood, pulling people in the snow. Yeah, I mean, you know, that's all Rocky stuff. Now, your dad, man, you know, with him being your trainer, and, like, obviously it's not the first time that we've seen the father-son dynamic in boxing, but, you know, a lot of the fathers, a lot of times, and I won't mention names, but it seems like they will try to steal the limelight from the fighter, almost living vicariously through them. Your father seems to know his role and kind of let you shine. Talk about that dynamic a little bit, man. Like, what is it like being trained by your father? Because obviously sometimes, man, I know from having my own children, you know, sometimes what you want them to do or the advice you're giving them, you know what I mean? You're talking about, you know, your father being an old head from Cuba and everything like that, man. You know, so, like, what's the dynamic like with you two, man? Like, when you're in a training camp?
It's good. Obviously, in training camp, it's very strict. We're very disciplined on what we had to do. Now, obviously, sometimes that you get moments, I'd be like, you know, you're tired, but with that, you can have with any coach. But in that case, it's strict. He's not my father at that moment. He's my coach, is what we say. So whatever he says is what to go. Like, currently now, he's doing the schedule, what I have to do for training at the gym right now. So on the stuff. So with that stuff, I never interfere, and he never interferes with our personal life. Like I said, when I go to the gym, I don't call him dad or anything, or papi, you don't get in Spanish. It's usually coach or profe. Profe is the same thing, like professor in Spanish. So it's just like, I think me and my father have a very good dynamic when keeping things like work is work and family back at home. So,
and did your dad have boxing training? You know, did your dad do fighting of his own?
Yeah, so he fought in Cuba, and then as amateur, obviously, because there's no pros allowed over there.
Right.
And then here as a little bit as a pro as well. So, and then, you know, his cousin is Joe Casamayor and Gamboa. For them, they're my second cousin. So it's just like boxing runs in the family. So, like I said, I was bred for this sport before I can even come out my mom's womb. But it's honestly, when I was 8 to 14, I hated it with a passion. Hated it with a passion. I used to go crying to my mom, like, take me out. Please, please, I'm begging you.
Is that
But
because
then
is that because of Pops working you hard?
yeah, I was a little chubby kid. I had my big old love handles.
Yeah.
I love food, so I was just eating, going to school and stuff like that, not doing anything. Until my dad one time saw me sitting on an electric. Look, let me tell you, I was sitting on an
Well, that's
electric
not
box.
fair though, right? Because your dad is a chef. He could probably throw down in the kitchen too. That's
so
not fair, man.
He blames me, right? He
Yeah.
blames me why I love food.
Yeah.
One time, him and my mom, they were working together at a clinic at a cardiology clinic, and I remember I was sitting down and I woke up that morning and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna say bye to my parents for the first time. We'll go outside. Had no shirt on. I remember I was sitting down in an electric box. I was waving. I said bye. My dad pulls down the window and he's like, I'm gonna take your ass to the gym. I said, oh, what? And like he said, exactly how he did it. He took me to the gym and everything. But I mean, like I said, if it wasn't for that decision or me going out there, who knows? I probably would have been boxing. But knowing my dad, I probably still would have been boxing, you know?
Yeah. But I can also see like a mom though. You know, I don't know if any mom would want to co-sign, you know, their baby boy getting punched in the face for a living. How did your mother deal with the boxing thing, man? Like, was she on board? Did she give your father any opposition?
In the beginning, my mom hated with passion. She didn't come to the fights in the beginning. She's like, I'm not gonna see my baby get hit, this and this and this. Now,
big fan.
Now she's worse than my dad. You think like my dad would give me some? I remember in the amateurs, especially like whenever I lost or something like that, or I didn't perform good like I'm supposed to with a fighter that I know I should have like wiped out.
Right.
It wouldn't even be my dad as much. My dad would be like, blah, 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 blah. We'll chill out, and then my mom will go at it for like 15 hours, a whole ride back home. So it's just like, but I know they do it out of love. I know she does it out of love and everything. They just want the best for me in this sport.
Right.
Like I say, my two sisters, both of them, they did boxing just as well with my brother. You know, so we're all a boxing family. I don't know. My dad, he raised a clan of boxers. So, I mean, obviously, for when I have kids, I mean, I wouldn't want them to box. Obviously, I don't think any parent really wants their kids to box, knowing how hard it is and stuff like that.
Right.
Now, I've always said if they would want to box, by all means, please do. Just know what you're signing up for, you know?
Yeah, please do so. Now, you know, because then you'll be able to be the one cracking the whip.
Yeah. Or dropping them off with my dad and letting my dad do some more. But knowing how parents sometimes get when they get grandchildren, you know, sometimes they go soft. So who knows?
I'm very soft with my grandkids. I'd have to say, I can understand it. Hard on my own kids and then soft on the grandkids. I think that's just a natural progression of how things happen. You know what I mean? Now, currently, you're 26, man. Now, we always used to hear talk about, you know, athletes back in the day that like their prime was correlated with their age. I've talked to a lot of guys on here as of late who are older boxers who feel like maybe they're in their prime now because even though maybe their physical skills have diminished a bit, you know, they figured out a lot more up here. You know what I mean? Like at 26 years old right now, where do you feel like you are in terms of your prime? Not quite in it yet, in the midst of it? You know, where would you rate yourself at 26, how you feel as an athlete?
I think I'm getting there as into a prime.
Okay.
Obviously, I wish I was like an Amir Khan and going into my 20s, 18.
Yeah.
You know, I think that was his big prime. But I think of it now because I came to pro late. I was 22, turning 23 when I went pro. I stayed on the amateur for a while to build that resume up. So I think I'm getting there. I think probably in 2 years, maybe I'll or even a year and a half, I'll say that'll be my prime years. In this sport, you're always growing and stuff like that. If I keep doing what I'm doing and taking care of my body and training as hard as I can, I don't think anybody will be able to beat me and stuff like that. And me doing the stuff that I got to do, you know.
Do you feel like it's better to have stayed in the amateurs longer? You know, there's two schools of thought here, where some people, you know, have short amateur careers and they turn pro at a younger age, and then there are guys who, you know, who stay in the amateurs longer and, you know, much like yourself, maybe start the pro career a little bit, later. Which one do you think is better?
I think it's always better to get more experience as you can, because for me, for international, I was after youth world championships,
right.
I came back and I was just turned 18. I told my dad I'm going pro. I don't want it. Thankfully for my dad, he said, no, stay back, get some experience. And thankful for that. Now that when I'm here pro, all the styles that I come see now is I've basically seen them all, you know? And I already have the experience, not fighting without headgear and stuff. So I wasn't punch scared by the time I had my first pro debut and stuff like that. So it's like you kind of already know the rhythm of the thing, obviously. But I think it's always good. I always tell people, I think as much as experience as you can get as an amateur and get them fights up, because in the amateurs, nobody likes to lose, but them losses, it's not going to count when you go pro.
Right.
You go start over on a clean slate, and then you can.
People forget. They do. Yeah.
But I like I said, I understand sometimes like the kids from my gym, because we have a bunch that compete, and some of them lose and stuff like that, and they get heartbroken or they get sad. I mean, obviously, I was like that too when I lost in the amateurs and stuff like that. But they got to remember a lot, and sometimes I got to, I tell most of them that you just got to remember it's amateurs. When you go pro, it's a clean slate. The mistakes that you made in the past or them past fights, by the time you go pro, there's things that you can fix on in training camp, or even now mistakes that I have in pro fights. I'm still learning. This sport, you never stop learning.
Right.
Every generation, I think they get like more technical. Like these little kids that I'd be seeing in the gym or in Vegas in the gym, man, I'm like, man, these kids would have kicked my butt if I was.
Yeah. And not to mention that it seems like every year, like with technology getting more and more, they have more things at their disposal. Like you think like 20, 25 years ago, there weren't boxers taking ice baths or going into cryo chambers or having all this like top-notch elite level stuff that they can use as training tools. You know what I mean? It was old school. Just like you said, it was like running up mountains and, doing stuff like that,
That's what
I mean, now they got a lot of stuff at their disposal now.
Yeah, I've never been into, what is the thing you said, the cryo, the
cryo. Yeah, I'm not even sure if I know what the hell it is, man, but I think it's something that just oxygenates you or something like that.
I've have a lot of friends that stuff go there, like Richard Torres, he does it. Darius Holgum, he does it too. They're very good friends of mine, so it's just, I know they do it, but me personally, I've done it. Just strictly, I mean, drown me in ice water, which I hate the most, but it helps.
Yeah. But they say that I've never done that myself either, man. But they say that really pays dividends, though.
Yeah,
for inflammation and for soreness and recovery.
15 minutes, minimum 15 minutes. I mean, every pain that you're feeling will go away in an instant when you're in there. When you come back out, so it's just like it hurts because it's like sharp pain when you're in there, and if you move a little bit, you feel more sharp pain.
Yeah.
But it pays off. So it's just like every time the coaches tell me in the beginning, I'm like, but it really does help your body. By the next day, you don't even feel the pain no more. So which is good.
And now you mentioned being in the amateurs and seeing like a lot of different styles. Now you're currently at 154. I'm wondering, I mentioned that you're a tall fighter, 6'2", but a guy that we see at 154 right now that does seem to pose a problem for people. It's Sebastian Fundora. How do you fight a guy like that? We just saw Cordell Booker have a very difficult time with him. It seems like a lot of people have a difficult time with him. He is kind of an anomaly. You don't typically see a 154-pound guy be 6'6".
That's insane. 6'6" to be 54.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'd be wondering, I'm like, how do you make weight? You know what I mean? He's taller than freaking Usyk, and Usyk's the undisputed world champion. You know what I mean? But with fighters like that, obviously for shorter fighters, you have to find a way to get in. A lot of feints and head movements and stuff. I mean, I think Booker's mistake was trying to fight him on the outside and move around, which is not bad. Obviously, in some moments you could do it to take a little breather and stuff like that. But if you're that short and you're going with someone that tall, I mean, there's no way for you to be staying on the outside,
And like you said about your body shots, man, you got to find a way to get in there and get to the body, right?
Yeah, so it's just like I don't. With that fight, I fought that same night, so we were there, I was there watching and stuff like that. So it's just, I wish I had the opportunity.
Yeah.
Do I know my promoter would do it? I don't know, but but in that fight, it is frustrating because you like for small fighters like that, you wish you could tell him more mid fight. I'm pretty sure probably his coaches were telling him the same thing to try to get on the inside. Right. But I know how frustrating it could be. Sometimes when we have a pro fighter here in the gym, he's taller than me. I think he's like 6'5". Sometimes it makes sometimes I gotta go extra thinking mode when I'm working with him because I'm not used to working with taller fighters.
Is there anybody specifically at 154, who's maybe at the top of the rankings, and or a champion, who you specifically would love it if your team did come back and say, "Hey, we got you a fight with this person"? Is there anybody that you look at and say, "You know what? Hey, I would like a fight with that person"?
I'd love to fight Fundora. He's the top of my list, obviously, because he's the world champion. Xander.
Xander. I was going to bring up Xander's ass.
I would love to fight Xander. I've known Xander forever in the amateurs. Even now as a pro, I would love to fight him. Business is business, obviously. Xander. I think of now sometime. Brian Mendoza's up there. I mean, he got some ranking. I mean, even a fight to fight him is a good name in the resume as well. Yeah. Tim Tszyu, he got a win off of Joey Spencer. I was supposed to fight Joey Spencer in December last year, but he fell through on his end. So I would love to fight Tim Tszyu. But I know there's now rumors about him and Fundora fighting.
A rematch, yes.
Yeah, because Fundora he vacated the belt, the WBO belt, and now Xander with that one, I think Mexican dude he's fighting. I don't know his name. Do you know by any chance?
No, but I did see it get announced though, because I think a lot of people were really hoping that they'd see Fundora and Xander, but I don't think that's going to happen next, at least.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. But I don't with that case with this. I don't know why he will drop the world championship belt unless that Tim Tszyu belt is or do you know by any chance that they're fighting for a belt?
I don't know that offhand, man, but it does seem like, though, man, that a guy like Sebastian Fundora, man, there's got to come a point in time where it's going to seem like he has to outgrow that weight, though, right? That's got to be tough, man, making 154. I can't speak on his behalf. I mean, I met him once at the local casino here at the fights, him and his sister. Really nice young man, man.
Great people.
But I mean, I'm 6'4". Very rarely do I take a picture with somebody and have to look up at them, man. And even I was looking up at him, and I thought, wow, the fact that this guy fights at 154 is amazing to me. It boggles my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the heck they be eating or anything, or not eating.
Yeah, not eating. Yeah.
I saw a short clip for the fight for Booker that he said that he was going to stay at 54 for 6 years.
It looks like he's killing himself, though. Doesn't look like he struggles ever to make it.
I mean, I don't know what they're doing. They got some magic going on, but it's working the best for him. I mean, I wish him best of luck in his career. If he could keep holding that weight for as long as he can, that'd be great. I mean, I think he'll probably struggle a little bit if he did go up in weight, because obviously – I wouldn't say that he's used to fighting people taller, more of his height and stuff like that. Because even in the amateurs, he fought at 165. He fought against Troy Isley, and Troy Isley beat him. So I don't know. It's if he could keep making it, it'd be great. If he goes up, better for me. If he stays there, it don't matter.
Now, where do you feel like your ceiling is? Because you're 6'2". You know what I mean? How high up? How high up in weight could you possibly explore? Like, where do you feel like your ceiling is?
As of now, or towards the end of my career?
Just like throughout your career. What weight divisions do you see yourself being able to go to, and then saying that's probably like me extended. That's as high as I could go.
If we're talking about towards end, I want to finish off at 168, but right now maybe I could go up to 160.
Okay,
and fight that one. Obviously, bigger guys and stuff is different from sparring guys, because I've always sparred bigger guys, and stuff like that. Never, Coach K and my father never let me spar people my weight. It's always
there is a lot made of weight though, man. Like obviously we heard about it this past weekend, man. Where we kept on seeing, Conor Benn, they're making Eubank boil himself down. Even though he looked great on fight night, he actually won the fight or whatever, man. Which I got to tell people, man, was one for the ages. Go back and watch that fight. What an incredible fight! It was like Gaddy Ward, the British version. Crazy back and forth action, man. But the bottom line is it was a welterweight fighting a guy that's a super middleweight. I mean, weight divisions exist for a reason.
For a reason, yeah. But hey, Eubank got it. He got
he did.
The Benz are 0-2 against Eubank, so
they are. I know. And so for you, man, while we're talking about like weights, man, obviously this coming up weekend we're going to see Canelo in action again. If he picks that belt up off of William Skull, He'll have them all again, which everyone expects him to do. I know you never want to look past anybody, but this sets up a potential fight at the end of the year with Bud Crawford, which has been talked about for a while, man. Where do you rate Bud's chances, man, of going all the way up to 168 and fighting a Canelo Alvarez? In your opinion?
This is boxing. Everybody has a chance.
Yeah.
Everybody. You got two hands just like me, right?
Yeah.
Anybody has a chance. They can get that one lucky shot and stuff. It is 2 weight classes hard. You know what I mean? So obviously for me, it's just a little, he's never fought that. Or like, again, we go to the back against sparring and fighting are 2 whole different things. I think Bud will get him in the senses of moving. And I think if he stays boxing the whole time, because Canelo's not, everybody knows that he doesn't do too well with boxers.
Right.
People who move around. So I think if Bud stays on the outside and moves around, it'll beat him easy. But again, if Canelo gets him with one good shot, slow down his pace and things like that, then it'll go in his favor. I'm biased because I love Crawford.
Yeah, me too.
I know Bud for a long time, so I would say Bud. And that if he stays on the outside boxing the whole time. But if, like I said, it's boxing, anything can happen. I mean, look at with Charlo, for example. When Canelo fought Charlo, he was walking down Charlo the whole time.
Yeah.
And Charlo's basically walking around that way. You know what I mean?
I know.
Like, for that, sometimes you're like, okay, I don't know. Maybe it's a little hard because Crawford's a smaller weight than that, obviously.
Right. And then you look at the flip side of that. Then you look at Crawford coming in against a naturally bigger guy like Spence, fights the whole fight southpaw and beats him pretty easily.
Yeah. So it's just like styles make fights.
Yeah.
Everybody says.
And so for you, man, when you're growing up, man, obviously, your dad had somewhat of a boxing career, but who was the real hero, man? You know what I mean? When you're growing up watching boxing, are there a couple of guys that you can remember like watching? Like we all have those sports heroes we're watching on TV or whatever. Who are those guys for you that you were watching, maybe wanted to emulate, maybe looked up to?
Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, because he was kind of like me, tall for the weight class and stuff like that. I really love watching Tommy Hearns. Like I said, Sugar Ray Leonard. A lot of Cuban fighters as well. A lot of, especially when he was younger in his prime, I think I really loved watching him a lot. Rigondeaux, I love watching because of his movement. I think he got great movement, but if he was just more active, it would be a problem. Lomachenko was a great fighter of mine as well. The list can go on and on. I mean, it's a lot of fighters, but if I had to say my top favorite ones, it would probably be them. Hearns, Sugar Ray Leonard, Lada, and Rigondeaux.
And now how active would you like to be going forward the rest of 2025? Like you just had your first fight in 2025 in March, but just last month, within a few weeks ago, man. First of all, do you know when you'll be in action again, and how many more fights would you like to get in, ideally in 2025?
I don't know when I'm going to be back in the ring. I'm believing so. It'll probably be July or August. Hopefully July. Maybe it'll be on that Fundora card July 15th that they were saying with him and Tim Tszyu.
Yep.
That'll be a great card, I think, for me to go on. I would love to fight at least 2 more times this year. I mean, the more fights I could get, obviously, the better.
Yeah.
But realistically and stuff and things like that, it'll probably be another 3 more fights. Probably there, maybe, I don't know, maybe another one. If I fight in July, maybe in October, and then another one in December, hopefully.
Is it frustrating between fights when you're waiting for fights to be made?
Yeah, because it's in the business world, there's always a lot of talk. Like, yeah, they're going to do it. No, they're not going to do it. Yeah, they're going to do it. They're not going to do it. And then it's like, because obviously boxing is an all-season sport. We get no days off. You know what I mean? We have to stay ready all the time in case that opportunity comes. So we're sometimes, like I said, last year we've had a big problem with it because I was in training camp, and the fights always fell through. And then training camp, fell through again. So it's just like, it sucks sometimes because you're putting the work in, you're training very hard and stuff like that. And then last minute that person pull out or something will happen. And then we had to go back to zero and start training camp again, So it's just like, It's one of the downsides, I think, in boxing. I think nowadays this generation is very scared to lose the Floyd Mayweather effect, you could say.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's just like it's hard. It's very hard, especially for me being a tall fighter fighting at 54. The reason why I went up to 54 because at 47 it was even harder to get fights.
Yeah.
So it's just like sometimes as a fighter, you're just like, okay, what decision do I have to make to try to boost my career up to go a little bit more? Who knows? Like, what if I go up to 160? You start fighting some bigger guys, you know?
Right.
But you know, it's all in the hands of God and to keep working and stuff like that to try to. Hopefully this year I can get those 3 fights and I can build my name up and get more ranking, and maybe halfway, maybe around May or June of next year, I could be fighting for a world title shot. Hopefully.
What would you say is your best in-ring attribute, and what would you say is the thing that you would like to see improve the most, man? Like, what's the part of your game, man, that you're working on, and what part do you feel like is already there? You know what I mean? Like, what's something that you feel like, you know, you do extremely well? Obviously, you mentioned the body punching earlier.
Mm-hmm. People say they think my jab is really good out in sparring and in fights, which for me, I don't know why. I don't think it is, but they say it's sharp. But I think more of my hook, my lead hook, and I would love to keep working on my body more. My lead uppercut, so my right uppercut.
Yeah.
Try to work on that a little bit more because I got the backbone perfected. It's just to work on the front. So if I can stop it on the other side, but even though I don't know, if I could finish him with both hands, it'd be even better.
Yeah. A title fight in 2026, though, man, is definitely called for, man. I mean, come on, man. We got to make it happen, man.
We're saying here, so
yeah.
Hopefully.
And I feel like inadvertently, or maybe it was intentionally, I feel like a couple minutes back in the interview, man, that was a bit of a Fundora call out.
Yeah. So I've been calling out Fundora for a while, for a long time already.
Yeah.
He's a tough fighter. I see all the mistakes that he does, and he probably sees the mistakes that I do. But
yeah,
I think if he thinks he can win and stuff like that, I don't think it was necessary for him to drop the belt for no reason. He can make more money, obviously.
But that's interesting that you say you see holes, though, man. Like when you're leading up to a fight, man, how much tape or do you actually watch on your opponent, and how much do you leave it up to your dad or your team, man? Like, will you dive in and watch a guy and see what he does, or will you just say, you know what, I trust my dad, he'll find out the game plan and he'll come and tell me what I need to do?
Yeah, so what happens is they always watch it first, and then always mid-camp, I'm always watching it by myself too, or even with them, trying to do that. But like I said, I trust my team so much. I always say having the corner is very important. And I feel like if you're having somebody in a team and they're working for you very well and the things going on really good for you in your career, why change it? You know what I mean?
Right, absolutely.
Why risk it and be these fighters that are changing coaches, and changing the style up? I think Ryan's a great fighter, but at the same time, he hops a lot of coaches a lot. And, you know, obviously his styles changed from Eddie Reynoso going to Guzman and then, you know, going to Derek. So his styles changed those times.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I don't think it's bad to work with other coaches and stuff, but I think sometimes you can get a little piece of everybody. But I think if there's something working for you very well, like in my case with my father, who known me my whole life, he knows when I'm not feeling good, feeling bad. Then as well with Kate Karama working with me when I was 12. If the stuff we're working on is working very good, why change it? You know what I mean? Obviously, there's plans. You got to have a plan A, plan B, C, D, E, F, whatever in boxing and plans. The same thing when I had to do with Maurice Lee. There was one thing for me not working in the first round. I had to change it up to plan B. You know what I mean?
Well, there is something to be said in boxing for stability, though, too. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, yeah, you make a good point that you can get a little taste of some different trainers and adapt more than one person's idea, man. But there's also there's nothing wrong with banking on one team and loyalty. You know, I mean,
I think if somebody's been with you from the beginning and it's working well for you and you trust them and they trust you, what's the need of changing it? I mean, you don't have to care what other people say. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Now, give me some, I usually do it on my podcast. I'll usually do it on my Facebook page, man. We got some big fights coming up. We'll see how well this ages, man. Give me some predictions. They don't even got to be specific. Who wins out of Canelo and Skull?
You're
not going to go.
Obviously, Canelo.
You're not going to go against Canelo.
I hope. I mean, who knows? It could be a Bivol incident, but
it could be. It could be.
I don't see it. I mean, he can be my Cuban brother and stuff, you know. But I think Canelo takes it all the way for that fight.
And now the big Times Square card where we're gonna drop a ring in the middle of Times Square, man. We got and it's only those 3 fights, man. So we're seeing Devin Haney come back against Jose Ramirez.
I think Devin Haney will win by decision.
Okay. How about Ryan and Rolly?
I think Ryan will stop Rolly probably under 8. I believe.
Yeah, I believe that too. And then the only title fight that's on that card, Arnold Barboza and Tio.
Tio. I think decision, but I think Tio will win by decision.
Yeah, Barboza has been a nice little role. He has.
Yeah, I think it'll be close. Maybe a
Yeah.
split decision or majority.
Yeah.
But
Although I
don't
like
think
how I
he
instantly, I like how I instantly said Rolly's name though, and you kind of couldn't help yourself but chuckle, man. And I know you never have a bad word to say about anybody, man. Usually, man, you stay pretty neutral, man. Even calling guys out, man. But even you couldn't help but chuckle right there, man. Then you said Ryan Enzim, and then you said Ryan Enzim under 8, man. So is he somebody that's hard to take his boxing skills very seriously?
No, I mean Ryan. I mean, Rolly's a strong fighter. Get that.
Yeah.
I mean, we sparred a bunch of times growing up together. I was literally training with Rolly the whole time at Johnny Tacos when we were kids, younger.
Yeah.
He's obviously a hard fighter. Now, I think there's obviously skill levels to the sport. You know what I mean? Not saying that he's bad, but I do believe that Ryan Garcia is better, or there's better fighters out there. Now, in that case, he's adding the opportunity. You know, he's a really good talker to make himself into them fights. Like,
he does hype these fights. Yeah, he does hype these fights good, man. It is kind of a promoter's wet dream, for lack of a better word, to see Ryan and Rolly in there, man. You know what I mean? You got two guys that have got the gift for gab. They're very marketable guys, you know?
Yeah.
And now what do you think do you think it's a different result? If those guys get past their respective opponents, man, and Ryan gets rid of Rolly and Devin gets rid of Jose Ramirez, and we see these two guys have that rematch that everyone wants them to see, do you think the outcome is any different?
No.
You still see Ryan beating Devin?
Yeah, I mean, like that whole I don't. Devin fights exactly the same that he did in amateur. Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
And I started off going to his gym at Hip Factory when he had it open. He fights exactly the same. Nothing's changed. I mean, there was moments in that fight that Devin was doing good. I mean, but he just kept getting dropped. I think if he gets hit with that hook, but I don't know. I don't even think he saw it himself.
It's like there is a scenario sometimes, man, where a guy just has your number, right?
Yeah,
it can happen.
It could have been a lot of pressure too. You know, they fought already 6 times in the amateurs.
A bunch in the amateurs. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just, it could have been pressure from that too. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I mean, but I still see Ryan winning that fight again, and then that whole stuff with the court and stuff like that. It was just
nuts. I know. I don't think he did himself. I kind of think he did himself a disservice. But again, it's going back to, and you use the term that I use a lot too, the Mayweather effect. He seemed very consumed with just getting his O back and making sure that O was there.
Did you see what he said when they were all 8 of them were sitting down in front of each other? He's like, at least I got my O.
Yes.
But in my mind, it's the same.
That made me cringe.
Like, in reality, I'm like, my brother, come on, reality. There's no O. You know. I would
because the world saw you get beat though. I don't think anybody looks at Devin Haney and says, "Wow, you went to court and got your O back, so we're going to look at you as undefeated." People, the general consensus of the boxing public who viewed it, man, they see a guy get his ass whooped, dude. You're not going to change their mind in court. It's the court of public. It's the court of public opinion that matters in boxing.
Yeah.
People saw you get beat up, man. You know what I mean? You can go fight all the court battles you want, man, but us as boxing fans, man, aren't worried about court decisions. You know.
I don't know. With that whole stuff with Devin, I think they just made it worse for him. You know,
it did.
There was no need for him to do that. I mean, like I say, just take it up the chin, just go back to the gym and things you got to fix on. Obviously, it's boxing. Yeah, this generation of ours, unfortunately, like you said, we got the Floyd Mayweather.
They're consumed with the O. They're consumed with the O. But let's also forget that a lot of the greats, though, who have gone to the Hall of Fame, the Muhammad Ali's, the Manny Pacquiao's got 5 or 6 losses.
Look at Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao had like 8 losses. Or like 10 losses.
Yeah. Oscar De La Hoya lost 6 or 7 times.
Yeah, it doesn't define you as a person, obviously. One loss doesn't say that your career's over. It's the end of the world. It's the same thing like when you take it back into the amateurs,
Yeah.
Obviously, when you had that first loss, it sucks, but you kept going and you kept fighting, right?
Yeah. I think it is a generational thing, though, because I think like Floyd in this newer generation, man, it did get to the point where greatness was defined by your win-loss record,
Yeah. I mean, that's the purpose why nobody wants to fight anymore. I guarantee you, if it wasn't like how it is now, people will still be fighting each other. Maybe I will still be having fights.
Yeah. And granted, nobody wants to lose their I get it. You're in a sport, man. You're competitive. You're in it to win fights and not lose them, obviously. But I mean, Not the end of your. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mark the end of your career, man. Should you catch a loss?
No, I mean, there's a lot of fighters that have lost and came back, and like you said, look for example, Pitbull, right? He lost to Tank. It was a big he was coming to lose, right?
Yeah.
He gave a good fight to Tank, and they gave him another shot. Now everybody loves Tank. It's not necessarily, even if you lose a fight and you're coming in and they have you as a loser, it necessarily doesn't mean your life is over, or your career is over.
And I almost think that Haney would have been better off taking the loss because, the immediate reaction afterwards was, wow, he ended up with a broken jaw. He ended up pretty lumped up after the fight, but he wasn't actually KO'd proper. He kept getting up. Yeah. I think if he would have just took that loss, people would have said, hey, you know what? Kid took a loss, but he showed a lot of heart and determination.
He got a lot of heart. At least he got a lot of heart. He kept getting back up. Yeah, okay. Yeah. He is a warrior. Yeah. But, like you said, if he did that, but since he didn't do it, now he got everybody telling him about this. You took him to court.
Yeah.
Which I think is ridiculous. Like, obviously, like the judge said, I mean, you're in a combat sport. It's going to happen,
Right.
But I think it's a lot of influence over because of his dad, too. Who knows? But
yeah.
It's boxing.
Boxing. That's all you can do. Throw your hands up and say it's boxing. I know. It's crazy, man. But listen, man. I absolutely love talking to you. I'm glad we got to hook up again. I'm glad now I've got your number, man. I'll stay in touch, man. When the next fight gets announced, we'll get on here and we'll definitely do it again and chop it up, man. You're my guy. I always love chopping it up with you, man. And I'm looking forward, man, to the next one, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You guys are one of my favorite people to talk to and stuff like that.
And get my son back on here. The first time you were on here, I had my son co-hosting with me. He's got a family and he's got 4 kids, so sometimes it's hard for him to get on here and do the interviews, man. Mm-hmm. All my kids are grown. I've got grandkids, but I'm an empty nester, man. So my house is quiet. I can jump on and do a podcast interview really whatever I want. Mm-hmm. It's a little more difficult for him. If you remember, he's always in his car during the interviews. He's trying to find a quiet place where he can do them. You know what I mean? Like where his kids aren't going to come banging on the door. So
I don't blame him. I don't blame him. I know how kids can be.
He's got his hands full. He's got his hands full. Yeah. He's still part of the Off the Couch boxing family. We still roll to the fights. You know what I mean? He'll still be with me at Hall of Fame weekend. He's looking to start to pop back on here slowly and get back into it now, you know what I mean? But, for a while, they were just becoming increasingly hard just because he's got a lot on his plate, Yeah.
But I like it that you guys always ask authentic questions. Sometimes
we try.
You get the same thing over and over.
I know.
And over again. It's just repeat. So, I mean, I like that you guys were the first ones to not give me the same questions I have to answer over.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. And it's always great. It's always great when you have a guest on, man, who doesn't just want those same questions. You get a lot of guys who are just expecting, like, okay, go ahead, man. Hit me with who's my toughest fight. Who do I want to fight next? Who do I want to call out here on your show? I like the fact that I try to keep it free-form conversation. That was my goal from the get-go. Yeah. Like, we can jump on here and we can have a laugh and chat about your dad swimming over here from Cuba, and we can talk about, getting yanked off the football field, and I can dig into other stuff, man, and just chop it up about, boxing, life, whatever.
And that's what separates you guys from the rest. So I think you guys are one of the best in the ring, and whenever you guys give me the opportunity, I always hop on. So,
I appreciate it, man. Thank you, man.
Now you have my number, so now be more personal because I never use the messenger. So
that's good. That's good. Yeah, listen, Freddie, I appreciate it, man, and congratulations on the victory last month, man.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And we'll definitely stay in touch, and we'll do this again, my friend.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Always, brother. Good talking to you, Freddie. We'll talk again soon, my man. All right.
Okay.
Later, man. There he goes, folks. One of my favorite dudes in the fight game. That is Freddie Rojas, 15-0, 11 knockouts. Just went up from 147 to 154, man. 6'2", man. A long, lean, rangy, vicious body punching. Now, junior middleweight. So I can't wait to see what he's going to do, man, in his career, man. He is literally not only a great representation of what a young athlete and a young fighter should be, man, but he's doing great things in the sport, man, guided, of course, as we talked about, by his father, man, Team Rojas, and a big shout out to Pop Rojas, man, because he's done a great job. I can say that as a father myself, man. Not only raised a young man that can fight, but raised a young man who embodies those qualities that kids should look for when they're looking at idolizing or looking up to an athlete, man. They are well-spoken, articulate, well-mannered, well-spoken, thoughtful guy, man. It just shows you could be in a combat sport, kick ass, man, and still be a good dude at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So I like that about a lot of the young fighters I have on here, man. Shout out to all the young fighters who come on here who embody that, man. It's refreshing to see, man. Freddie is one of those guys, man, who is at the forefront of that. When I think of young fighters who embody that, who get into the ring, but outside of the ring, they're all those things I just said. They're well-mannered, they're gracious. They're not trying to trash talk. They're not trying to run people down. They look at it as a business. This is a sport that I compete at. You know what I mean? So Freddie embodies all those things, man. He's really one of the good young ones right now, man. And I'm super happy to know him, man. Super happy that he looks at this podcast as something that he wants to do. That's a huge honor to us, man. It's just great. It's a two-way street, man. I love that he loves coming on this podcast, and I love being able to reach out and get a guest like that on and know him personally, man. So and admire what he does professionally. So keep an eye on Freddie Rojas Jr., man. He is going to do big things in the sport. I know I say that about a lot of the young fighters who come on here, man, but he is destined for huge things. He's got just an incredibly high boxing IQ, an incredible skill set, a committed body puncher. He's got the height, the length, the athleticism. Obviously, he seems like he's seen some holes in Sebastian Fundor's game. I took that as kind of a low-key call-out right there. That would be an intriguing fight. A lot of people have had trouble with Fundor because of his height and his reach. Freddie is not quite as tall, but it sounds like he's seen some things, man. And again, Xander Zayas, a lot of those guys at 154, those other young fighters, man, all great young men, by the way. I've met Sebastian. Xander seems like a great young guy, man. This is really what it's all about, seeing these guys being ambassadors for this great sport, man, and carrying themselves in a way that doesn't put off arrogance and, this brash, uncouth attitude that you see with a lot of young athletes, man. These guys, man, really get it, man. So credit to their upbringings, credit to their parents, credit to them for having the wherewithal to say, hey, I'm going to carry myself with a modicum of class and dignity, man, and show people what being a professional athlete is all about, show the younger generation coming up under me what it's all about, man. So credit to all those guys, man. And there's some great fights to be made at 154, man. And Freddie Rojas is going to be in the mix in those fights very soon. As you said, if he had his way, he'd be in a world title fight sometime here in the tail end of 2025. Sounds like realistically he's thinking more 2026, man, but it's very soon. We are right on the cusp, man, of seeing him in major world title fights, man. So I'm so excited for him, man, and he's really one of my favorite guests, man. That being said, make sure to like and follow Off the Couch Boxing on Facebook. And of course, if you're on here right now, make sure to like, subscribe, and smash that notification button to stay tapped in. This is the home, of course, of the most amazing and real boxing conversations anywhere on planet Earth. You all know the tagline: legends, luminaries, world champions, and fighters on the rise. Come in here to chop it up with your boy, Reckless Rexx. This is, of course, the undefeated heavyweight champion of boxing podcast, and you at home can be a champion too. Just continue to stay tapped into this podcast. Continue to roll with us. Continue to roll with the champs. Peace.